Hey there everyone, Dr. Beth Westy here, and I wanted to come on and talk about irregular periods. This is a question I got actually a lot very recently. Ton of messages coming in about why is my cycle irregular? I read this other thing or I saw this other thing about this other thing that's trending and da 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 da. So I just wanted to give you some good information on this. One of my missions is just to educate and inform women about how your physiology works so you can make the best decisions for your health moving forward and whatever goals that you have. Yay! So, irregular periods. Now, overall, when I talk about the female cycle and everything else, realize that your cycle can be regular for you, but not somebody else. It doesn't always have to be a 28-day cycle. Every body is individual, and what works for you or what's normal for you might not be normal for somebody else, but also realize that just because something is common doesn't make it normal. Like having a lot of pain, having a lot of PMS, feeling like a pile of hot garbage when you get your period. That's common, but it's not normal. Yes. And if you're looking for more resources on, all things hormones and women, my YouTube channel is called Dr. Beth Westy. You can subscribe to that to stay updated on all the videos I have coming out about women's hormones and everything else. Okay, so I have a lot of information that I want to go through and I get really excited about it, so I'm going to try and stay on track here. But in a regular period, overall, and after I go through this list, I'm going to talk about some things that you can do to really help keep your cycle regular, help keep your hormones regular, and feel as good as possible every day of the month, no matter what, after. So an irregular cycle essentially is meaning like my period was early, it was late, it lasted days longer than it normally does. For example, if you're like, yeah, my period's normally like 4 days and it's like 8 days and you're like, and it was way heavier, or it was, this or that happened or something. What the heck? Yeah, that can be irregular for you. Absolutely. Absolutely. For some gals, if they've even gone through menopause, they're in perimenopause or menopause. Perimenopause is a phase where your cycle is kind of irregular all the time anyway, so you kind of don't know what's happening. But if you're I've had gals that have been in menopause and then they'll have breakthrough bleeding or other things happen and they're like, what's going on? What is this? There's a lot of things that influence your hormones, a lot of things. And realize that your hormones are what I call impressionable. They're not set in stone. Right? They're influenced by a lot of things. So these are some of the things that can influence your hormones, and your period and your cycle and how it functions and everything about it. Stress is one of the number one things that I find that impacts the period. Like if you have a lot of stress, it can have sort of a short-term and long-term impact on your cycle. Meaning if you are in a very stressful state, if you have a lot of acute stress, there's a trauma of some kind, right? Your body will react to it immediately, meaning it will shut down ovulation. Like so again, I work with a lot of women go through different experiences in life. For some women, if there's an incident with their partner or something really negative happens, their body won't ovulate. If they're in an accident, if they get really sick or something like that, or if there's, a death in the family or something, right? Very traumatic happens. The body just, because of that stress level, the body doesn't ovulate. And it's not going to ovulate, on a regular timely manner like that because it's a stress response. When ovulation happens in the female body, it's looking to have a healthy fertilized egg implant. And if there are uncertain conditions, the female body has a lot of protective mechanisms set in place. But one of them is that it won't ovulate or it'll delay ovulation. So it can cause your period to be skipped or be late. I mean, if you've ever even had a stressful time, like, taking tests or finals or something, and you skip a period or something like that, yeah, that can be from stress. That's the immediate short-term effect. The long-term effect of this, especially when you're looking at chronic stress, traumatic stress, toxic stress. I just did a video about toxic stress recently. You're looking at continued irregular cycles, continued things. This is becoming a pattern now. That regularity is a pattern. And also realize that when you do ovulate, your body ovulates from one side and then the other side every other month. So like January would be the right ovary, February would be the left ovary, March would be the right ovary, April would be the left ovary. And for gals that have PCOS or other issues like that, you can have physical scar tissue on one of your ovaries that can actually impact how well that egg releases from the ovary, right? There's scar tissue, inflammation on one side. So for some gals, they're like, yeah, I ovulate on, or I have a period 1 month, and then I don't have a period, and then I have a period again, and then I have another period, right? So it's like every other month on that one side that you have a period, right? And it's this weird, funky pattern. There's usually something going on with that one ovary. Now, there's different recommendations that I have because there's a lot of stuff you can do naturally with your own body to help any scar tissue or things that are built up in your system. That's a whole other video. So if you want me to talk about that stuff, I absolutely can. You can always leave a comment below and I can, do a deep dive down that rabbit hole if you want. But stress is the number one factor impacting this. And it, good question. Oh, good question, Sarah. What if you only have one ovary and only ovulate every other month then? Typically, yes. Yeah. You can ovulate, right? And that's the thing, when they talk about twins, fraternal twins, is when you ovulate off of both sides, right? There's 2 eggs released, either from both sides or one ovary will release 2 eggs. That's fraternal twins. My husband's a fraternal twin. So it is possible, though, to ovulate from one ovary more than just every other month. It's just not as common. So that's why for some gals, when they only have one ovary, they have decreased chance of fertility or something like that. They'll phrase it that way. Yes, but excellent question. So stress is the number one factor. Now, again, it has a short-term impact on your cycle and a long-term impact. Oh, the other thing about your hormones and your cycle, also realize that it takes 12 weeks for a full hormonal cycle in the female body. Not just 28 days. It's not just a month. That's just like the cycle, the period. But when you're looking at actually the release of, and formation of an egg, the eggs that you have are the eggs from like birth when you were formed in utero in your mother. But in terms of like the production of those eggs, that's a 12-week process. So what you do right now for your hormones and your body and your ovaries actually takes place 12 weeks from now. And if you're thinking, what the crap? That's a really long time. I know. And this is why I work with a lot of women. I have a 12-week program. I have a 12-week challenge where we work on regulating hormones, cycle, everything, and getting your system to work really, really well. I take women through what's called a Dutch test, and we look at what your hormones are doing exactly for your body, so you get a custom recommendation of nutrition and supplements and things for what your system needs. So there's that. So I put that link below if you guys want to get on the wait list for the next 12-week challenge to work on your body and your hormones. But a lot of times women don't realize, again, it's a 12-week cycle. That's why I have a 12-week program. It is built for the female body. But stress, biggest impact there. Sleep, decrease in sleep. This can be decrease of amount of sleep, decrease in number of sleep cycles, right? Decrease in quality of sleep. That can impact your cycle and make you have a more regular period. Sleep and rest and repair is one of the biggest things that you can do for your overall health. That's kind of one of the hardest things because it's not something that you like push harder for. Oh, I'm gonna sleep more. Yeah. Oh, let's go sleep. It's like the opposite. You gotta take a back seat to it, kind of. And then you're looking at other changes, right? Exercise change. If you exercise a lot more, all of a sudden. If you've been pretty sedentary and then all of a sudden you start doing CrossFit every single day of the week. Yeah, that's going to impact your period, right? Or the opposite. If you've been doing CrossFit every single day and all of a sudden you become a couch potato, that can impact your cycle and make it irregular, right? Nutrition changes. This is a change in amount of nutrition, like overall, are you getting enough nutrient in, and type of nutrient. Are you getting enough protein? Are you getting enough minerals in your body? That type of thing is really, really important. I put med for like medications and supplement change. And this includes any other bioagents that I don't want to say ingested, but that you've had. So this can be birth controls too. And not just like the pill, but also IUDs, Depo, the shot, or other implants, the ring. There's a lot of different forms of them. But coming off of them, if you don't help your system reset, and again, we look at the Dutch test for what your system needs there, but if you don't help your system reset, You can have an irregular period and it can be irregular for years. This is one of the things I hear from women all the time. They'll be like, yeah, I was on the pill for over a decade, or I was on this type of birth control, then it switched to this and then switched to that. And yep, now I'm trying to have a period and I can't. Or I went off of it 3 years ago and I still haven't had a period, or I've had like 3 periods in the past 5 years. What's going on? Yeah. It's just this shift and change in your body. It takes a lot, right? Your system and your body and your health is a combination. It's a cumulative effect of all the things in your life. It is. So it matters. It matters that you were on the pill for 10 years, even if it was, even if you've been off of it for 3 years. It matters to your system, because a lot of those things and a lot of these things cause your ovaries to go dormant, like they hibernate. And unless you do something to wake them up, sometimes they just don't wake up on their own. You have to help it out. Sometimes when people are like supplement change, like if you are going through some type of detox, or if you're taking supplements that don't have a good balance. I see this a lot. Where people are like, oh, I'm taking this thing, it's supposed to be really good. And I'm like, well, you're still missing some things, or you're not really supporting this, or you're not even getting enough iron in, that's going to impact your cycle. Yeah. Anemia is the #1 deficiency in the world. So keep that in mind. And protein is the #1 nutrient I find that women don't get enough of. Yes. So last thing I'm going to talk about for causes for an irregular period is environment change. This can be like changing your schedule, changing when you wake up, when you go to bed, your work environment, where you go, who you interact with, who are you around, like people, right? And the place that you're in, right? That's a stressful thing. I mean, my mom was a teacher for 40 some years. So think of, gals and I work with a lot of gals that are teachers. They have the summer off and then they go back to school, and it's a stressful environment with all these crazy kids. Can throw your cycle off for a little bit until your body gets used to that schedule and pattern again, and the people that you're around. And another fun thing again about women is that as our bodies are impressionable and our hormones react to people around us with pheromones. I mean, I was an athlete, right? I still am an athlete, but pretty much every single team I've been on, right? It doesn't take very long before you're around a lot of other gals before your cycles link up. Why is that? That seems weird. No, it's not weird. It's how the female body works, because it's amazing. And it's a really cool effect of hormones and the fact that your body is impressionable. Your hormones are impressionable, right? So keep that in mind when we're looking at these things, when we're thinking about, okay, I've done this and that. I've been on birth control, or I've had these other things that I've been exposed to, or something. I've depleted myself nutrition. I've done some crazy crash diets, so maybe I'm nutrient depleted some ways. I've done some crazy exercise things. I'm definitely not getting the right kind of sleep, or I'm not getting enough sleep, and man, I'm stressed out. So of course my cycle's irregular. Okay, but how do I fix it? How do I help this? What I teach women how to do is eat for your cycle. It's the eat for your cycle method. I talk about eating for estrogen and progesterone based on your basal body temperature and everything else. So I have my book, The Female Fat Solution, talks all about nutrition that matches your hormones and your cycle, and why women have such irregular periods, and how most of the history of nutrition is based off of the male body, not the female body. So this is on Amazon. If you're in perimenopause or menopause, I have a book on that as well to talk about how to eat for the menopausal body. Again, Amazon, so you can get a lot of good info there. I have a podcast called The Female Health Solution, where I talk about a lot of different health topics for women. A lot of different health topics overall. And this is one that is just really tough, because again, we're not told that this is, what to do when some of these things are off, or all these areas to look at. Can it be one thing that throws off our period? Yes. Can it be all of them that are contributing to throwing off our period? Yes. Yes. And then what happens when our cycle is off? What happens then? It means that your hormones are becoming imbalanced. And then the effect of that can trickle down into a lot of other areas of your health. So that's one of the biggest things. So eating for your hormones and cycle is one of the things. And again, if you guys want more info, if you want me to do a video specifically on this, just drop a comment below. I'm more than happy to deep dive into any of these other topics that you want me to. So eating for your cycle, seed cycling, sometimes using essential oils, and then depending on what a Dutch test would show, sometimes making sure that your system detoxes estrogens correctly. Yeah. Sometimes the body needs help, especially if you've been under stress or there's other things going on. Your body needs help, you know, pushing excess stuff out so that it can have the regular amount so that you can have a regular cycle. So, yeah. It's more than just, oh, get more sleep and, oh, don't be so stressed out, then your cycle will be fine. No. Usually it takes a different effort. You have to approach it from a different angle to get your hormones and your cycle working better so that they stay that way. And again, remember that it takes a full 12 weeks, which is a lot longer than any of us want it to take. But it's just how things work. It's just how things work. So if you've been having an irregular cycle, something that's heavier, clots, things like that, remember, what you do right now for your cycle, for your hormonal health, is really going to take full effect 12 weeks from now. So that's what I got for you guys tonight. Please let me know if you have any other questions, if you need any other help or any other guidance. Otherwise, I will see you guys later, and I hope you have a great rest of your night.